Okay, so this is our Bayesian host, which we created last time. If you remember, in our last class, we created these three VMs, 1, 2, and 3. This one is the Bayesian host. It's a Windows system, and we created it from this Bayesian host. We will access the other VMs. That is your HANA database VM and your S4HANA application server VM. So this is a Bayesian host. It's something like called the jump server. Okay, so you jump on this server, and from there you connect other VMs and services. Second, this is your HANA database VM. Okay, we in the last, I think on last Saturday, we installed HANA 2.0 SPS 05 on this VM. Okay, and after on the last Sunday, we installed the S4HANA 2020 application server on this VM, S4D Day 1. So these are the three VMs. I have started the three VMs. And this is a Bayesian host. Let me connect to the VM and start the application. Sorry, the database and the application. So these are the two VMs. This is my HANA database VM. And this is my S4HANA application VM. So first start the database. I've shared the commands in the Excel sheet, which I shared with you. I think I've not shared the Excel sheet yet. So after this class, I will share the Excel sheet with you. So this was the Excel sheet that we used to install the HANA database. After the installation part, you can see all this over here. You can use these commands to check for the HANA status. So these are the SAP control commands, which are a little bigger. And these are the HDB commands. These are very shorter. It's very simple to remember and type. But the output is very familiar and very easy from the SAP control command output. So I prefer the SAP control command. It's up to you. If you find this simple and easy, then you can go for this. Or if you want, you can go for this. So you can run this command to check the, okay, the first thing before you can start or stop the service, you have to log in with the SID ADM user. So normally the SID ADM users concept was for the application server in the previous or before HANA. But now after the introduction of HANA, you also have an SID ADM user in the HANA database also. So for doing any administration task for the database, you have to log in with the SID ADM user. SID ADM, SID of the database, that is DB SID ADM user. And for application, you will be using the SAP SID ADM user. Okay, so here is my, this was the, this is my H4D was the SID that we use for the HANA installation. So I'm logging with the SID ADM user. Here I'm running this command to check for the output of the HANA database services. So you can see here the database is not started yet because I've just started the VM. So database is not running. So you can start the database using the start command. So here you can I will start with the start command. Okay, it has started, the command is executed. Now you can run the watch command to monitor whether when your database starts. You can see all these processes are now in the yellow status, and the status which is showing is initializing. These are the processes which will be started first. So the first thing here is your HDB daemon. This is the process. This is the daemon or process which starts all the other process. Okay, so you can say that this is the first process to be started for the HANA database. It starts others. So first it will start the HANA name server. Name server is the critical and most important process of your HANA database. Sorry, the system database of HANA. So now step by step, other services are also now starting up. Okay, you can see. Now this is remaining. So first it starts all the services for your system database. After the system database, all the services started, then it will start. See, now that these two services belong, this service belongs to your tenant database. Okay, any service in which you have the suffix, which suffix hyphen SID. This is your SID H4D. So any service with the hyphen SID, this is for your tenant database. Okay, so this is for your doc store, this is for the DP server, this is for the index server, and this is your infrastructure server, deployment infrastructure server. And last, this is your access engine.
So how the tenant database and one is tenant, another is system.
Yes.
How we can define that? Define means what is the definition of the tenant
Yes,
database?
actually, Tanup, we will not take up that topic now because otherwise you go into the different. I will do one thing. I will share my other recordings of this HANA database class of recording with you. You
Okay,
can
okay,
go through
please.
that recording and you will understand that. Because
Okay,
here,
okay,
if I take up this topic, then we will get derailed from our actual track.
okay, okay. No issue, no
Yeah.
issue.
So
Sure,
so
sure,
this is a
please.
database. Database has completely started. After the database is started, you have to go and start the application server. Okay. So again, whenever you have to do any maintenance activity for the application server, also you have to log in with the SID ADM user. Okay. So here the SAP SID that we use for the installation was S4D. So the SID ADM user is S4D ADM. I'm logging with the SID ADM user, and after logging with the SID ADM, you first check the connectivity of your database, whether your database is accessible from your application server or not. So the command to check that is R3 trans minus D. You run this command, what it will do, it will try to connect to the database. This R3 trans command, it try to connect to the database. It checks for a table. It runs an select query on your database, and if that query is successful, then it will give you the exit code. So this is the exit code 0000. It means everything was successful. If you want to see what it did, and so when you run this R3 trans minus G command, it creates a file by the name as trans.log in the same directory from where you executed this command. Okay, you can see in the same directory. So if you want to see what is the content, you can check with the less command what is the content of the trans.log log. So here you can see this is the content and what actually it did for connect, how it connected to the database. It got all this information from the database attached to the DB. This is the version of the database. Okay, and all this information is from your database. And you can see over here, now I'm connected to the HDB. This is all the logs of your R3 trans utility.
So if any issue to connect the database, then we will get here the logs.
Yes, here you will get an error. This exit code will be different.
Okay.
It might be something 0012. If it is not able to connect to the, there are different reasons by which you will get an error. So when you open this trans.log, you will get a log why it is not able to connect.
Okay.
That is the main reason. You can troubleshoot, or you can check for the exact error what it is getting. You can get many type of error, like for example DB license, DB the versions of DB libraries are not correct, or some parameter or some OS level variable, some OS variable, system variable is not correctly set, then the database is shut down. The best error that you will get is when the database is shut down, or whether if the system your application server is not in the same network, or the network of your database and application server are not accessible to each other. Then there are many reasons that you will get it.
Okay.
So okay, I have run R3 trans minus G, and I am able to connect, or I am able to verify or confirm that my database is up and running. So now after this, I will start my application server. Again, for starting the application server, last time when we did the installation from this Excel sheet. Okay, so here in the install CPC, here we completed the installation till here. So after the, oh yes, so here we are doing the same thing that So after doing the installation, this is the step that we followed last time for doing the installation. Okay, these are some prerequisite steps over here. You have to copy the utility AZ copy and SAP car. AZ copy utility is for downloading the software packages, and SAP car utility is for extracting the SWPM archive. Then here we are downloading the package. This is a command that we use to download the package. Then we have to extract the package, SWPM package, and then you have to run the SWPM to start the installation. Okay, then after executing the SWPM, you have to open this URL, log in with the root user, and then you have to first you need to do the prerequisite check. First, you do the prerequisite check to check whether the data or the operating system is compatible not with your installation. whether it meets all the requirement, the prerequisites for the installing the S4HANA application server. So after running the prerequisite check, what we did, we installed the ASCS instance. Now, what is an ASCS instance? What is a database, and what is this primary application server? We'll be looking into today. So today, I think maybe most of the part will be covering the theoretical part for our basis part, but regarding all these instances and what are they and what are the services or processes which are included in this instance. So here we install the ASCS instance. After installing the ASCS instance, then we install the database instance. After the database instance, we install the primary application server. Now, after completing the installation, you are doing a system check. System check means, so just check the system whether everything is okay or not, whether that everything is running properly, whether there is any kind of error or something. So that is it. So first thing is that you need to log in with your SID ADM user. Okay, and this has to be your SAP SID, not DB SID. So this is the SID user which we use to log in. So you can see here we are logging with the SID ADM user over here. So this part is done. Next, we executed the R3 trans minus D. So this is the R3 trans minus D, and we got a successful, it means it was able to connect to the database. Now, if you want, you can check the processes which are running for your S4D ADM user. So here I'm checking what processes are running from my S4D ADM user. So right now you can see not much processes you can see. You can just ignore all this part. This is just for the CSH shell. This is ps-cf command. This is the grep command. So you can see only these two services are running. Processes are running for your S4D ADM user, SID ADM user. Actually, these are the two SAP. These are the two SAP start service which actually started by the which is actually started at the starting of your VM or at the boot time. You can just say the boot time. And if you want to see the entries, where are the entries? Then it is actually your /usr SAP services. This is the file which contains the details of your starting your SAP start service. Okay, so there it is. This is the parameter. So at the boot time, there is a service, I think SAP tune or I'm not system CTL status. System CTL status SSHD. Okay, so I think it is SAP tune or there's a service which actually starts this, which actually executes this, which reads this file and execute this command to start the SAP start service. So your service is started. When you run the start, when you start your application server, your application server is actually started by this utility start service. Do you get my point? Is it clear? Yes, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so here it is. So this is if this service is not running, you won't be able to start your application. Okay, just for example, I'm showing you something. I'm stopping the service. Here is this command. Instead of stop system, you are running stop service. Okay, stop service, and you will give the instance name. So our instance, SID is S4D. So this is the command. I'm executing this command. So first I will. So right now, this is a service which is running. I'm executing this command. SAP control minus instance number 00 function stop service S4D. You can see it has stopped the services. It has stopped the services. Now, if you check the output, so you can see there is no service over here for your ASCS, for the ASCS. Why ASCS? Because the instance number of ASCS is 00. So it stopped the service for 00 instance number. It didn't stop the service for your primary application server 01. Why? Because so again to stop this service, you have to give this command SAP control 01 instance number 01 stop service. Now if you check the output, now you won't see both the service over here. The SAP start service, this is a background service, this is a, you can say, which starts your application. Now if you run this command start system, if you run this command, it will give you an error. Can you see connection refuse? Why it's connection refused? Because no, this service, this SAP control command, when you ask it to start the application server, it actually invokes the SAP start service utility or this service to start your application. But now when you're giving this command, it is not able to find this SAP start service, a service or a daemon, or you can say process, and that is the why it is not. It is giving you connection refuse. Okay, I hope is it clear with you. So this is just for information purpose, just for information. In case in the future, if you come to know how do you start your service, if you face this error, NI connection refuse, then where should you look for troubleshooting? So now I'm starting my service with the same command where I gave for stop service 00. The stop service here I will give start service. The start service for S4D. Okay, so enter. Now if you check for the process, now if I check for the process, you can see find one service has been started for the ASCS instance. Again, I will use the same command. Instead of 00, I will give the instance number 01 for my primary application server. So again, it has started. Here you can see both of these services have been started. SAP start service. Now if I run this command, now if I run the command which gave me the connection error, this command which gave me the connection error. Okay, this is the command which gave the connection error. So where is it? This is the command start system. Now if I run the command, see last time it gave me connection refuse error, but now when I'm clicking on enter, see it executed successfully. Now if you go and check for the services here, see you'll say that this instance has already started and this is starting up.
Hello.
Yes, Adi.
Yes, so you mentioned like if we give the command without the SID, it will not take, and we have to give the SID even if we are on the same host.
Yes, you have to mention the SID, and one more thing, if you see the difference over here, this command which I executed was for start system. This was for start system, and the previous command which I did was for start service. This is the main difference.
Okay, that I missed. Okay, so we have to first start the service with the SID
start
name.
The service and with the SID. SID is compulsory. If you don't give the SID, it will give you an error.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So if you want to check for this is the stop service for 001, but my application is already started, so let's not disturb it. So application, if you run this command, watch command, now you can see that my both of the instances are running. Okay, this is one instance. If you check, this is one instance. This is my ASCS instance, and if you see the second one, this is my primary application server instance. Now, what is an ASCS instance? What is a primary application server? We will look into that, and I will also tell you how to identify which is an ASCS instance, which is a primary application server instance, and what are the difference between both of them. So right now we are discussing how to start your application server. So let me just briefly revise what we have gone through is that the first thing that you will do is that you will start your database server. First thing, you will start your database server, then you'll go to your application server. You will run the R3 trans -d utility. Okay, I missed out that logging with your SID ADM user, which I'm assuming that you have by now understood that it is compulsory. So first thing, you have to log in with the SID IDM user, start your database. Then second, you have to go to your application server, again log in with the SAP SID IDM user, and then run the R3 trans minus D utility to check whether the database is accessible or not. After a successful executing R3 trans utility, then you can run this command to start your application server. Okay. One more thing, let me just give you a brief about is that, see, here we have mentioned the instance number as 00. Here we mentioned the instance number as 00, but when you executed this command, when I executed this command over here, it started both the instances. See, previously when I started the start service, it only stopped the 00 instance when I asked for it, and then it only stopped the 01 instance service when you executed the command. But here when I give the start command, it executed both the instance. The reason for is that we have given start system. When you use start system, it will start both the instances. So let me give you a brief over here. So this is the both the instances are running. I will open another session from here, log in with the SID ADM user, and from here now I will not stop the whole system. I will only stop one instance. I will only stop your, not the 00, I will only stop your the primary application server. Okay, I will stop my primary application server. So SAP control minus -01 function stop, not stop system. Okay, only stop, enter. Now if you see the output over here, if you see the changes, what is happening? Okay, sometimes it takes some time for okay, yeah, here it is. So here you can say one of the services has stopped. Okay, so now this service is also going down. Okay, the other three. Okay, so now you can see this instance has completely stopped. Okay, this instance is still running. This instance, there is no effect on this instance. Only this instance has been stopped. The reason is that because we asked only to stop your 01 instance. If I again run the above command with 00, if I again run the above command with 00, now it will stop the ASCS instance. Okay, you can see now it has got stopped. Again, if you want to start the ASCS instance, you can instead of stop, I will use start. Okay. So here you can see it is starting the ASCS instance. Okay, it has already started the ASCS instance. Again, if you give the same command for the 01 instance, it will start the 01 instance or what is your primary application server. So you can see it is now starting your primary application server, or you can say the application server. Okay, so here it is. So this here, oh, yeah, now my application server is started. Okay, again, if you want to just check, if you want to go for, if you want to stop all of them at the same time, you can give any of the instance number. Okay, you can give 00 also, you can give 01 also, and you can give the stop system command. And also please pay attention to the character, it has to be, both the S has to be capital. If you give something like this, stop system, see what is telling, unknown web method stop system. So you have to properly give the, because it is case wise. So here I have to give stop system. Now when I'm going to give stop system, so now you will see that it will not only stop one system, it will stop both the system, because we are given system. It means system is the whole system, all the instances which are there in the system, it will stop it. Okay, so now you can see it has stopped both the instances. Now again, if you want to start both the instances, here instead of stop, just remove stop and just use start. So here start instance. Now here if you will check that it will start both the instances now. Okay, now my application server has started. Yes, everybody clear with this point? Any doubts, any kind of queries? Okay, so no doubt, let us move forward. So here we saw the processes which are running, then we saw how to start and stop, how to stop and start your instances. This is done, this is done, and this is done. How to start your system, how to stop your system, and the same will go for your restarting also. If you run restart, it will restart the instance. Okay, and this is to continuously monitor the output of the SAP control command. If this is without the loop, here I have used the watch command to put the SAP control command in a loop. Here there is no loop. So if you run this command, it will just show you the output and it will exit. See, it has shown me the output and it has given me the prompt. This is my prompt. And this is no longer updated. So this is just a one-time output. One-time output. Same goes for your, this is for the 00 instance, that is your ASCS instance. This is for your primary application server instance. And this is for your, this is another way to see what are instances running on your system. So this you can see, this is a host name. On this host name, there are two instances running. One instance number is 0, one other instance name is 1. This is the port HTTP start port. These are the services which are running under this instance, message server and enqueue server. And this is the other services which are running under the instance number 01. Yes, is it clear with everyone?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Very good. Now, one more thing, other thing, if you want to check your processes which are running for your application server from your operating level. Okay, so you can use this command dpmon. This is the dispatcher and monitor. So you can run this command dpmon. You have to give the path of your profile. You have to give the path of your profile. Now, what is a profile? That also we will look in the theoretical part. So here you have to give this command. When you run this command, you will get this output. You will get the queue statistics, the date and time of the statistic, number of loss wake up, maximum number of queue elements, 14,000. This is the DIA. DIA is for dialog. DIA is short for dialog process. UPD is short for update process. BTC is short for background process. SPO is short for spool process. UP2 is short for upgrade to process. This is for the dispatcher, gateway, ICM, LWB. Okay, if you want to see the long menu, you can click on M, enter, L, enter. Here you will see the long format of this menu. These are all the processes in your work processes in your SAP applications. If you want to get out, you can press on Q, enter. Okay, so this is how you can check for the dispatcher and monitor, the status of your dispatcher and monitor. So this is done. You have done your system check. I have done a system check. Everything is okay. My data application server is able. I am able to start and stop my application server, connect to the database, and dpmon. Everything is running fine. Now, the next thing that you will do is that before starting any activity, what you are going to do, you are going to take a backup. before you start any activity, post installation steps, or before you start any initial configuration, any configuration in your system, first thing that you will do is that you will take a backup of your database. In case in the next step, because in the next step, we will be starting with all the initial setup or the post installation steps. Post installation steps or post installation configuration, initial setup. These are some different names for it. Okay, so here it is. So before starting with any of this, you will take a backup of your database. In case if anything fails in that configuration, you should have your backup ready for restoring it. Okay, so there are two methods of taking the backup. One is from your database backup and the other is from your command line HDB SQL method. I have given both the methods over here. It is up to you which you prefer. Okay, because there are different kind of students which come for this training. Some are from the basic background and some are from the, you can say, advanced or middle intermediate background. Some prefer to go with the command line method, some prefer with the more advanced option, and some prefer to go with the easy and simple option. So both of these over here, whatever is best for you, you can pick it up. So now coming back to your instance, let me take the easy way of taking a backup. So we'll start the HANA Studio. Let us start the HANA Studio. HANA Studio is the tool, or you can say utility for the maintenance of your HANA database, for doing the maintenance activities for your HANA database. Start SAP instance, start SAP service. SAP service for ASCS. Start SAP service for primary application server. Again, stop SAP service for ASCS. Stop SAP service for primary application server. Okay, so this is for starting. This is for stopping. Function start, instead of system, it will be service, and at the rate your application server SID. It will start the service. Stop service. Application server. Stop service. So here it will be ASCS, and here it will be, instead of ASCS, it will be primary application server. So here it is. So this is for the start service of your ASCS instance, and this is the start service of your primary application server. This is the stop service for your ACS instance, and this is stop service for your primary application server instance. Okay, so here we have started the HANA Studio. So now we have to take the backup. So this is my system DB. This is the system DB, and the above one is your tenant database. If you want to take a backup, you have to right click on your tenant data system DB backup and recovery, backup system database, and backup tenant database. Okay, so now since this is the first time that we are taking the backup, first thing we'll do, we'll take a system database. Let me check if the directories, everything is there, or how is it. So go into your database, cd/backup. Okay, so permission for ll-d/backup. Okay, so the permissions are correct for your /backup directory. We can start with the backup. These are some previous files which is not readed. So let me remove all this. Okay, so I've deleted this. Before starting the backup, let me check for you. I think it is configured. Right click, backup and recovery, backup system database. Okay, so this is complete database, destination type file, backup destination. So this is my backup destination. Backup or /backup under this by the name system DB. Okay, but along with this, I will add a timestamp. So in the future, I should be able to identify which backup was for which time. So if you see the timestamp here, it is the timestamp. After system DB, I'm putting year, month, day, and the hour and minute. Okay. So here it is. If I want to, you can run the year. So year is 2022. This is the year, and the month is 06. Date is 11/11. Again underscore and R. So what is the R right now? It is 2019. So this is the current time, 8 hours 19 minutes, and this is the date and this. Okay, now just click on next. So this is the summary database. This is a database, hostname, version, complete database backup, file, location for your backup, complete backup. So now click on finish. That will start the backup. If you check in this location, see it has created this directory. It has created this directory that we gave for the backup location. This is for the system DB backup with the timestamp. This is my timestamp. ls. So this is the backup for it. I think it is already completed also. You can see the database was backed up. Click on close. Double click backup catalog. And here you can see today's backup. This is today's backup. 8 hours 20. So it completed at 8 hours 20 minutes. So this is your backup. June 11. This is the duration. It took 12 seconds for the backup, and the backup size of your system DB is 2.2 GB. System DB backup completed successful. Let me now start with my tenant database. Again, right click, backup and recovery, backup tenant database. Here you have to select your tenant database. So normally it is only one tenant in your database. So just select it and click on next. Again, here you have to give the timestamp of your backup. So here again, I'm going to do 2022-06-11_2021. This is the timestamp. Next. So review this and just click on finish. It has started the backup. Yeah, so it will start the backup now. Okay. You can monitor it from here. So here it has created this directory. If you want, you can run du-csh, what is the file directory size, or if you want, you can put them in under watch command. So can you see this size is getting increased? It is increasing this size. So I think it will take some 10 minutes for backup. So we will take a break for that. Yes, is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we will take a 10-minute break and 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll continue after that. Okay, yeah, yes, everybody. Thank you. Okay, so our database, tenant database backup has finished successfully. Okay, you can see in the background, the size of the backup is of 74 GB. Okay, the tenant database backup size of 74 GB. You can also verify it here. Here you will only see the backup for system DB. If you want to check the backup for tenant DB, drop down and click on the SID of the tenant DB. Here you will see the backup of your tenant database. Okay, so this is the date for your backup. This is the time, 6 minutes and 3 seconds. It took 6 minutes 3 seconds for the backup of 73.70 GB. Is it clear? If you want to check which files it backed up, you can see on the right side over here. These are the files of the services or processes which it backed up. Okay. So the backup was successful. Okay. This if you want to go with the backup with the SID ADM user, you can use these options over here. This is for the system DB backup. This is for the incremental. This is for differential. Again, tenant database full backup, incremental, and differential backup. Now let us move to the configuration part. Okay, so how to check your application? Till now, we have already checked from the system side, from the operating system side, from the command level, how to check your application, whether it is running, everything and details from there. But if you want to check from the application side, then you have to use the tool, the utility which is used to log into your application server, which is the SAP GUI software. So you have to install the SAP GUI software, a program to access your application server. So we have already downloaded it in the packages folder, C drive, packages. Under this, we already have this SAP GUI for 7.60. Double click. There are many setups over here. Don't need to. You just need to run the SAP GUI setup. Here it is. SAP GUI setup. Double click. Okay. Next. Here, click on the first plus icon. Just select the SAP GUI suite. Don't need to select all these products over here. This is not required by you. You just select the SAP GUI suite. Next. Next. And we start the installation. Okay, the installation completed. Close. Okay, so here you can see the icon for your SAP logon. Just open it. So the installation is done. And create a new connection. Now you have to create a new connection to access the application. Okay, let me do some options. Visual design, theme, SAP signature. Where is it? So description, click on create a new connection, connection. Next, description, SAP S4HANA 2020 dev system. This is your application server. Okay. Instance number 01. Instance number 01. Instance number 03. Instance number 03. Okay, sorry, this is not the database instance number. This is the application instance number. It is 01. System ID S4D. S4D. Okay, directly now finish. I can see the connection over here. So now double click on the connection. And this is my login screen for my SAP application server. So you have created a connection, done. Now you have to log in to client 000 with SAP star user. Password is your master password that you selected at the time of installation. So log in to client 000 with the SAP star user. SAP star password is your master password. Okay, and enter. So you can see. Yes, sir.
Hi. Here I have a question. So for first time when we log in with SAP Star, so password is not passed?
No. See, that is now. Okay, let me. Okay, since you asked this question, let me brief you about it. That see, the password pass is actually the default password for SAP Star. Okay, now what happens when you create a new client? See, this client was already created at the time of installation.
Right.
Okay, now afterwards, if you create a new client, so in that new client, there will be no user master record for SAP Star. There will be no user for SAP Star in the new client. Okay, so since you don't have a user in the new client, you can use the SAP Star with the default password pass. If there is no user in the client, if there is no SAP Star user in the client, then you can log in with SAP Star user with the password pass. Okay, so the password pass is actually embedded inside the code. Is actually embedded inside the login code of this SAP program. So in case if there is when you give the password pass, it will first check whether there is any user, SAP Star user existing in the client or not. If it will find the user in the client, then it will only use the password which was set for SAP Star at the time of creating that user SAP Star. If the user is not there, then it will allow you to log in with the default password pass. Is that clear?
Yes, it is clear. So, and what about DDIC password? So it's the same master password.
Yes, it is the same password. If you this my screen here, if you go on the information sheet and if you check for the application server users and what are the users which are created at the time of installation. So these are the operating system OS user. The SAP ADM, which is the administrator user for your SAP host agent, SAP ADM. Then you have your
Yes.
S4 SID ADM user, which is the administrator user for your SAP application. Then from the application user side, in the application user, you have SAP Star and DDIC. Then from your DB user, database user, you have a DBA cockpit and the SAP HANA DB. These are the two schemas which are created in the database at the time of installation, and a user is also created in the database, and the password is set as the master password.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yes. So coming back over here in the configuration part, so I'm logging, it is giving me the system username SAP star, last system logon, when was the last logon? And if you see over here, the license expires on 3rd of September 2022. So actually when we did the installation, by default, it gives a three months temporary license. SAP application server is installed with a 3 months temporary license. You can use the software for 3 months without applying any license. But after 3 months, if you don't apply any license, the system will expire. You won't be able to log in into the system after the license expires. Okay. So, okay. So this I have logged in with the SAP Star user into my new application server. So this is done. Now you can run some T-codes. You can run some T-codes to check if your system is running or not. If there's any kind of error, if there is any kind of dump, program dump, or some kind of issue, to identify that, you can run some T-codes. These are called as T-code, transaction codes. Okay, this is similar to, you can say, commands also. So when you run this command, or when you run this T-code, it calls the relevant program for this T-code and it executes that program. So installation check. So there are two T-codes for installation check, SICK, SM28. If both of them will call the same program, only the name T-code is different. It will do the same work, SICK, SAP installation check, SM28, both are the same. So I am running SICK. Okay, so you can say SAP system check, no errors reported. So there are no errors in my system as of now. Second, SAP check SAP servers. So how to check SAP servers? So now if I directly run SM21, SM51 from here, it will not execute. It is not giving me the screen, the program for the SM51. The reason is that you are now in one program that is your initial check program. If you want to run that SM51, you have to come back to the initial screen. You have to come back to the initial screen from here. This is the initial screen. From here, you have to run SM51. You have to come back to the initial screen. From here, you have to run SM51. Now you can see the program. It is loading the program for the SM51 T code. Okay, so here you can see, you can just click over here, add, close. So this is the screen for your SAP application. How is this for your SAP server? So how many servers are right now in your this system, S4D system? So right now there is only one server. This is the server. This is the name of the application server, S4H dev, one host name underscore SID underscore instance number. So this is the name of your application server. Then this is the host name. These are all the services or processes which are running in your application server, and this server is active. If you have multiple application servers, you can see all the application servers from here. In case of production server, you will find more than one, depending on your production. So you may find like 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, any number of application servers over here. So this is for application servers done. Then work processes, what are the work processes and what are they running? Again, you cannot run SM50 from here. You need to go to the main screen, execute it from there. The shortcut is you can use /n and SM51. /n will take you to the new screen and then run the program, run this T code. So this is, and if you want to run directly from any program, you can run /n SM51. So sorry, not 51, SM50. So here, this is my screen for the work processor. You can see all the details about the work processor. What is the current system date and time? This is the system date and time. Total number of work processes. How many work processes are there? 19 work processes are there. Now, what are the dialogue? So dialogue, how many dialogue work processes? We have 10 number of dialogue work processes. If you count from here, see, for starting from 0, we have up till 9. So here we have 10 number of dialogue work processes. Okay, from the 10 number, 9 are free. This is the load on the dialog work process. Then you have the update work process. There is only one update work process here. There is only one update work process and one is free. Background work process. Now there are 6 background work processes. You can see there are the 6 background work processes. And both all the 6 background work processes are free. And this is the load on your background work process. The spool work process. This is for the spool work process. Again, the spool work process is totally free. Update work process too, and again it is free. So these are all the work process in your system. And if you click on refresh, see, it will show you that it is executing which work process is executing which report. So this is it. So this is your work processes. So I can see all the work processes are running. If you want, you can look for this one, this column on hold column. For example, if any work process is on hold, you can check for the status. If any work process is reporting error, something, if you can check for the CPU time also. If any work process is utilizing more CPU time, you can check for the time. You can check from since when this work process is running. If it is running from a long time, 1 hour, 2 hours, then this may affect your performance. So here it is, work processes, SM50. Then ABAP runtime errors, ST22. What is ABAP runtime error? Now what happens, see, this system, SAP system is all like collection of programs and reports. Okay, so in programs, what you have all the codings, you have a ABAP programming codes in your program. Now, in case if there is a bug in any program, so what will happen, that program will crash. Okay, that program will crash, or it will give you an error. That crashing of that program is called as giving dump. That is called as a ABAP dump. So when a program crashes, it will give you a dump in this T code, that is your ST22. See, right now I can see that there are no dumps in my system, 0. Okay, but there can be a situation where you might have many number of dumps in your system. You might have something, in extreme cases, you might have thousands of dumps in a single day, depending if there is any kind of bug which has come in the system, and some T codes or some programs which are continuously running, it will continuously give you dumps. So you can check for the dumps from here. You can check for the today dumps. You can check for the yesterday dumps, or if you want to the date selection, you can go for a customized selection. So this is your ABAP dumps over here. So I can see that there are no dumps in my system right now. So my system, there is no issue with my system. There are no dumps in my system right now. So I can see that my SAP server is so active. I can check that all the work processes are running properly, no issues with the work process. There are no dumps in the system. And then the system log. This is actually your OS system log. So actually you can just mark it here. This is your operating system OS log. OS log related to SAP. Okay, OS log related to SAP. So what is the ticket for that? 21 /N SM21. This is the T code. Now this is the screen for you. You can execute, or you can run the selection from which date and time you want to run the selection. For example, I can run it from 01. First off, okay, so it is actually in the insert mode. If you check over here, it is in the insert mode. It is in the overwrite mode. So you can, if I type anything, it will overwrite it. So here, if you see, this is a small arrow key in the lower right side. If I expand this arrow key in the here, you can see that this is in the overwrite mode. So if you click on it, it will change to the insert mode. So now I'm in the insert mode. Now I will change. Now if I click on 0, it is not getting overwritten. Just please excuse me for a minute. Okay, so I've changed the date. You can change the time also if you want. Let me set the time as 00, starting from midnight. So 1st of January midnight, I'm trying to pull out all the logs from you, all the logs from the operating system related to SAP. You can see these are all the logs from the system. You will find on the logs for new system, log file created, started, buffer SCA, this. Then you'll find all this for start work process. The work processes are getting started. Okay, this is for the start work process, then SAP gateway, message server. These are all the logs from your operating system. So you can check for, yes, see, these are the error messages. Red means error. Check for any error over here. So this is only one I found over here. It means transaction cancelled. So one of the transaction was cancelled. So I think we can just ignore this one. This is not a critical error or something. Okay, again here operating system call unlink failed. So this error is something related to network issues. So this also we can like safely ignore this error. If you want to see the detail, you can double click on it. Double click on it, you can see the detail over here. A specific operating system call failed. The cause of that error be narrowed down with the error variable this and 11%. Operating system call unlock failed. But normally you can just ignore this error. Again, I think other than that, we don't have any same other operating system unlink call failed. Call unlink failed, transaction cancelled. Okay, so there are no critical errors in the log. We can safely ignore them. So here we have checked for all the basic. We have done a basic system check to find that a system is okay. There is no issue with the system. Everything is proper. Okay. So yes, everyone. Any doubt till now? Any kind of
Yeah, hi.
no doubt. So yes,
Ram here.
yes, Ram.
So, may I know, is there any list or any list of errors which we can ignore in both the ST22 and SM21?
Actually, Ram, I don't have any list right now, but what you can do, see, I can suggest you the method by which you can do the analysis or troubleshooting any error that you come across, for example, in SM21. Okay, see, your best friend, if you want to learn something, your best friend is Google. Okay, so I'm not telling you just to like release my load. See, it will make you independent. If you know how to use Google now, you will become independent. So,
Okay.
for example, if you come across this error, operating system, so I'm just copying this error message, and I will paste it over here. Just paste the message over here, okay, and just click on enter. The best thing you can find many kind of everything over here, details. You can just go through that. Try to refer the links which are as close to SAP. For example, go for SAP support.sap.com URL. Go for the SAP notes. Go for the SDN, SAP Developers Network. Okay, so go for the blogs for SAP. So these you can see these are the more authentic, and these are the most reliable information source. After that, if you don't find the source here, then you can go for some third-party links where you will get this information. So right now, I see this is an SAP note. Okay, this is an SAP note. This is for SM21 show operating system call unlink failed. This is for your ICM process, Internet Communication Manager. If you click on read more, it will open that SAP note. Now to open this SAP note, you cannot go and directly access the SAP note. You need a S user ID and password. My S user ID and password is already saved in the browser. That is the reason I didn't have to enter the username and password. If you see on the right side in the profile, if I click on the profile, it will show me the user profile by which it is accessing this SAP note. See, can you see? This is my user. This is my S user ID. This is my S user ID, which I'm using to access this SAP node. So by default, it will not be easy for you to directly go and access any SAP node. But there are some website also which will show you any SAP node if you're not able to access it in case if you don't have an SAP user ID, S user ID. If you scroll down over here, I think you can find some links also which will show you the content of this SAP node. This space. So for this SAP node, you don't have it available. So what it says, ICM failed to delete Unix domain socket /TMP. So this is the cause. Can you see? This is the cause. It is ICM failed to delete the Unix domain sockets under /TMP SAP stream. Resolution, let us take the errors and traces in the symptom section as an example. This as a trace in ICM. Step 1, and this is showing you all the steps that you can do to further. Okay, but as per my experience, I have seen that this error is not a critical one. You can safely ignore it. Let me check the other note also. See other same also. See, this is error number 110. What is our error number? Our error number is 1. Error number 1. So here it is not for error number 1. This is for 110. This is for 111. This is 113. This is for solution manager environment. Monitoring configuration was not refreshed after server removal in LMDB. This is not relevant. This SAP node is not relevant to our situation or our scenario. You can just ignore or you can just close it. So this is our relevant one. If you see over here, this is our relevant one. So error number 1. This is for error number 1. So here you can see the cause and all. Check whether the file exists at OS level. If yes, manually remove this file. So that is it. Now we can just ignore this error. So it is done. So now we have done the background check. We have done the system check and application is running properly. Now we can move forward. So let us take some, start with some theoretical part. Okay, so
I have,
yes.
hello. I have a quick question actually. So like, does anyone ever encountered any issue like after installing the system in 000 client, like in SM21 or in SC22?
Yes, yes. You will find many. You will find. Yeah, who's that? Okay, yes, Sadhana, you will find many errors. Okay, depending. See, the reason is that when I have done the installation, I have taken special precaution to just follow every prerequisite for the installation.
Okay.
So that is the reason I'm not getting any error. Everything is clean. But in case if any person who is who's installing and he doesn't have like a proper experience on installing an application server, he will find number of errors starting from the day 1 after the installation. He will see a lot number of errors.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So now let us start with some theoretical parts over here, starting with what is an ERP. Okay. Okay, so let us start with what is an ERP. So anybody here having an idea, since I think most of the crowd that we're having today is, I think they have worked, they have some level of experience on the basis of SAP domain and or in the SAP field. So can anyone give me a brief overview, like what is an ERP? Yes, anyone?
Well, I can give the full form of ERP, that enterprise resource planning. That's it.
Okay. Other than that, any idea what is it? See, you have been working on this field. You will be like managing this software. So what is this software for? What it does? Why is it so special? Why is it, what difference it is? What is the difference between a tally and ERP? Okay, if it's just like a simple, you also have tally.erp. So why is it this tally software, which is like selling for something around say like 40 or 50,000 for multi-user, and in comparison we have this SAP software which is selling for 40 to 50,000 per user, which will be accessing this software. So in case if you have, for example, 50 users in this system, 50 users if you have created in the SAP software, so you will be charged around say 50,000 per user. That is around, I think, 2.5 crore rupees per month of renewable charges. So what is the difference between this year? What is this ERP? So, okay, so let me take an example. We'll understand what is an ERP by taking an example of a business. We'll take a business example. We will take a business example to understand what exactly is a ERP. So now what example I'm taking over here is that I'm taking the example of a departmental store. Okay, so here I'm taking my example of a departmental store. The name of this departmental store is Mega Mall. So Mega Mall departmental store. So this is the example. Now what is the structure over here which you see over here? So this is actually their building, the building of the Mega Mall departmental store over here. So they have like a one-story building, or you can say like a one-floor building, a building with a ground plus one structure. So on the ground floor, in half part of the premise, they have their store. Okay, they have their departmental store. So that is, for example, they might have a big structure. They might have a big premise. For example, say maybe something or say like 3 or 4 acres, or maybe like 2 acre or something of space. So in that premise, they have a structure of ground plus one, and on the ground floor, in half part of that ground floor, they have their mall, or you can say the store, the departmental store. So this is the departmental store, which is, and on the right side you can see all the sales counter. So the customers come into the departmental store, they make their purchases, they fill in their shopping carts, and then they go to the sales counter, and they get their, and they bill, and they get their items billed, and then they pay for the billed amount, and then they exit the store. So this is the half part of your the ground floor. Other half part of their ground floor is your warehouse. So in one half of their is the store, and in the other half it is their warehouse. The warehouse where they store all their stock, surplus stock. Okay, there is a surplus stock. For example, for any kind of material, say for example some shoes. So they will only keep a limited number of stocks in the store for display. If they need more stock, sorry, if they need more quantity, more stock, then they will get it from their warehouse. So this is their lower structure. Now on their top, on the first floor, they have their admin offices, administrative offices. So what are basically these administrative offices? It is your, for example, FI, finance. Then they have for HR. Okay, finance is the department which manages all the finances of the mega mall. Okay, for example, how many, what is the sales, what we have sold, and what is the, where is the cash, what is the bank balance, how much cash we have, what is the petty cash, how many debtors we have, to which we have to pay amount of, how many creditors we have, from where we have to recover amount, all this information. Then you have your HR department, which looks after your employee, which maintains your employees. For example, it has a record of the employee records. It has all the data of the employee, which is their name, which is their full form, which is their full name, their address, and their contact number, their bank account details, and each and everything. Okay, then what is their CTC, what is their salary, plus their monthly timesheet. Okay, monthly wise, they manage or they maintain the day-to-day time wise, what time they come in, what time they go out, on this month how many leaves they have taken, and based on their time sheet they will process their payroll. in case if they have taken leave, in case if they have worked overtime. So everything it is carried out by the HR department. Then you have the WM, warehouse management. This is the WM department. Then you have the SD, sales and distribution. This SD team, this looks after your store. Okay, if any of the item, like what should they pick up or put on display. Okay, sales and distribution, how they can put, or what should be put in the store, what should be put on display, what is the product and everything, what product should be procured. For example, some item has gone below their stock, so how much more should be procured. So this is actually planned and managed by the SD department. Okay, now it depends on, for example, for one of the stock item, so now they will have like a default rule, say for this item, say for example, electric lamp or something, some electric lamp. So for this item, they will have, say, like for example, they should have this item at least 100 in stock. At least 100 in stock. So now if these item goes beyond that stock, for example, it is now only the stock of that electric lamp has gone to like say like 40 or 50, then they will create a request to procure more items of electric lamp. But it also depends, something may also depend on, like say, season wise. A good example is the umbrella. In your normal seasons, you won't have a good stock of umbrella. You will only have like very limited, maybe like not more than 100 also in your stock. But when the rainy season is about to come, they will procure more and more umbrellas in more variety. Maybe they will keep 1,000 umbrellas at a time in the stock. So all this strategy, all these things, managing the managing the stock and everything is done by the SD department. Then you have your MM department. MM is your materials management. Now, whatever product you need, whatever items you need, in not only for your sales, but also for your internal consumption. For example, in your store, you might be selling printers, but also in your administrative offices, you will be needing printer for your internal purpose. So any kind of requirement within the department or within the business, they will raise it with the MM team. They will tell the MM team, we need this thing. For example, they need stationery, so they need A4 size printing paper. So they will raise a request with the MM team. We need this requirement, this quantity. So MM team looks after all the materials and they will procure the materials. They have their own contacts and for all different vendors. So when a request is raised, for example, an SD department raise a request to procure 100 printers of this and this variety. So the MM team will take the requirement. It will send the requirement to their vendors. We have this requirement for this quantity. The different vendors, they will provide the quotation for this product which is required. Then what the MM team will do, they will compare the quotation from different vendors. Which vendor has which quotation, which is giving the best quotation along with the best value added service and everything. So they will narrow down, they will identify the best quotation, and then they will put that quotation in the system, and then the supervisor will approve the quotation, whichever is a better option. He will approve that, then they will place an order with the vendor, and then the vendor will send them the product. Last one, for example, for your IT department. So that is it. So this is your admin officer. Now, what happens? How do you manage all these different departments? How will the different departments will be synced with each other? Okay, now, for example, MM team raises a purchase order with the vendor. For example, say vendor ABC. So MM team has given a purchase order to ABC to procure some products, 100 quantity of some products. Now, how if the ABC vendor delivers that 100 products, 100 quantity in the warehouse, so how will the warehouse know whether this was ordered or not ordered? Whether MM team has especially ordered this product. So now when it will come for the delivery, they will have to call the MM department. Okay, sir, we have received this order for this purchase order. This we have received say 100 quantities for this. Is it correct? Then the MM team will search for its own record. Or no, we had placed 150 orders for this quantity. This is under a delivery. This is not the proper quantity. Then again, this will go on. Then after accepting the order from the vendor, Now, how will the finance team come to know that what is being ordered, or this vendor has delivered this and this product, and now we have to pay this and this amount to the vendor. So everything people cannot go running to from one desk to another. The finance department cannot go to every department asking, sir, have you made any purchase today? Okay, please fill in this form and tell us what you have purchased. Please tell us this. So this is not practical. Okay, this is not practical, though it was being used in the previous, before IT or before computers came in, business were managed in those manner only. Okay, but that was very chaotic and very haywire. It was not systematic and not simple, or not, you can say, effective, efficient. So after, now what happens, SAP came into picture. SAP introduced one software for it, is ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. Now, when you have this software in your organization, when you have the central, it becomes a central point. Now, what happens? All of this, now when you have this SAP software, now when all of the customers, when they go to the sales counter and when they get their bill, when they get their item billed, this sales counter, they will be their sales, the computer, the PC on their desk, the sales counter will be directly connected to the SAP system. Whatever things they are selling, it will be directly punched into the SAP software, ERP software. Okay, each sales order will be immediately saved into the SAP software. And similarly, for example, inside your warehouse also, there will be different devices in your warehouse. So like for every, if there's an order delivery, you will take the delivery of that order, and what you will do, you will put it into the system. You will mark, or you will update that delivery into the system directly. And now all these departments, all the administrative offices will also connect to the SAP system, and they will get the required information. Okay, for example, the MM team, MM team will create a purchase order in the system, so and so. And after creating a purchase order, it will take a printout, or it will mail the purchase order to the vendor. So the one copy of the purchase order is already in the system. Now, when the vendor will on the day of delivery, the vendor, what it will do, it will bring along the purchase order which it received from the MM department, and along with the product, it will show the purchase order. Sir, as per this purchase order, I am delivering this product. The warehouse, the WM team, the warehouse team, what it will do, it will compare the purchase order with the actual delivery, whether everything, all the products are same. Okay, for example, if they have ordered for something, for example, some t-shirts in XL size, but the vendor is, by mistaking, he is delivering it for double XL or maybe large size. So all this thing has to be checked at the time of receiving the delivery. So once the warehouse team checks for all this delivery product, it will eventually see that okay, everything is proper. It will enter these details into the software, into the ERP. As soon as it punches the details in the system, okay, that this products has been received. Okay, the finance team will be informed, or the finance team can see from the outstanding amount. It will see, okay, after 30 days, I have to pay this much amount to this vendor ABC for the delivery which was done on this day. So everything has become centralized and systematic. So the flow of the information, integration of all the different departments, all the different departments have integrated into the ERP system. Is it clear with everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so this is just a very simple and basic example of your of a ERP software. Now, nowadays, it has become more and more complex. So departmental store is a very simple and very easy to understand example. But now you have many complicated industries also where SAP is being used. For example, you can use SAP in automobile section, telecom section. Then you can also use in business and finance section. Different kind of services also. You can also use SAP or ERP software in service-oriented industry also. Okay, so SAP has solutions for all these different kind of industries. So when you implement that solution, when you implement ERP and you activate that business function, So, so for example, if you have installed an SAP software in an oil industry, in an industry, or I can say in an oil company which is into oil drilling and refining, when you activate that particular SAP function, all the business process, all the logic which is required for running your business for oil and refinery, it will be activated in the system. So you will have different kind of T codes available. For this T code, you can create you can put an entry where you can make an like how many oil was drilled on this date, how many oil was sent to the refinery, how many oil was got after refining, what is the exact amount which was received. So these are the different business processes which will be available based on your related to your industry. Okay, I hope is it clear to everyone.
So we can say ERP is used to integrate various modules or various departments of a client or business.
Various modules, various department. Here I have given you just an like
detailed,
normal department, normal departments of a business. You have many other departments also. Many of the you might have never heard of also. You have something called as PS, project system. Then you have PP, production planning. Then you have PM, plant maintenance. There are many departments, many modules in SAP. Okay,
yes.
So these are the different things. You have AM also, asset management, and many different things. So you can integrate all this functioning into your ERP software. Okay, so that was the overall view about your ERP system. What is actually an ERP system? Now let us understand the technical overview. What is the technicality of that software, of your SAP software, architecture of your SAP software? So first thing, just understand that in your SAP, there are two types of it. There are two, you can say two streams in it. Okay, you can say two streams based on the language on which it is coded or which in it it's programmed. So there are actually two application servers, two types of application server. One is your most important is your ABAP application server, and the second is your Java application server. ABAP application server is programmed in your ABAP language, ABAP programming language, which is the native programming language for SAP, which is developed, which was created and developed by SAP. I think it is the full form of ABAP is Advanced Business Application Programming. That is ABAP. Now, after with ABAP also, SAP also went into it created another application server which was written or which was created or coded in the Java language. So this ABAP, this Java application server, all the processes inside that, everything is a program or designed in the Java language. So that is your application server Java. Here in our case, we'll be only going with the AS ABAP, that is the ABAP application server. Some years before, I think 10, 15 years before, when internet was booming, when internet was booming, in the starting, there was no Java application server. There was only ABAP application server. Okay, everything in SAP was ABAP. Okay, you have this SAP GUI, you log in into the system and you run T codes, and then you do or you create your different documents and this everything that. Now, somewhere in the mid of 90s, there was a boom in internet. So everything was everything was on the internet. Everything was accessible from the browser. So to bring up their system or to bring up their interface or just to feel of their software, to just get into the competition or bring it to up to speed to the what is there in the market, SAP started providing accessing the SAP software from the browser. Earlier, it was only accessible from the SAP GUI software, but now you can also access the system from SAP browser. Now, when you started accessing the system from SAP browser, there were many dependencies, many things, so SAP found that the ABAP software, using the ABAP software to cater to the needs of the HTTP protocol is not proving efficient. So what they did, they developed another independent application server Java. Okay, just for catering or just for with the providing, which was providing to the needs of the HTTP interface. So they developed a separate system, and it was quite in demand some time back, maybe I think 10 or 15 years back. But again, what the SAP started, they again making their application server, ABAP application server, more and more powerful to cater to the HTTP demands. So now slowly it has now earlier there was a larger dependency of the ABAP application server on the Java application server. But slowly they have removed all the dependency of the web application server on the Java, and slowly they are just reducing the you can say the market or the dependency of Java or from your ABAP server. Now you can have an independent ABAP server working catering directly to the HTTP protocol without any need for your Java application server. So slowly again it is like moving back or falling back to the ABAP application server. So we will be talking only about the ABAP application server here. Okay, because S4HANA system is a pure ABAP application server. This is just for a simple understanding client server architecture, what kind of you can have a layout over here. So you have 3 layers over here. The base one, the lowest one is your database layer. Your database server resides at this level. Second is your application level. All your application servers reside in this level. And third is your presentation layer. Presentation layer means the interaction point from where all the users connect to your application. So in front of the application, you have the presentation. Presentation is normally it is referred for as the SAP GUI application. It can be referred to as a presentation software. SAP GUI. So the users which are using the SAP GUI, they are on the presentation layer. Okay, so now if you see over here, so here in the first option, you have a 1-tier architecture. What happens in a 1-tier architecture? The database server, the application server, as well as the presentation software. Okay, all of these 3 are installed on the same server itself. All the 3 are installed in the same server itself. Okay, for example, your database software is installed in the same database server, and your application is also installed in the same server. You have also installed SAP GUI in the same server. Okay, so you don't have to, there is no difference, there is only 1 tier. Everything is there in the same box. You can log in into the same server, you can open SAP GUI, you can directly work from there in the same local system. So that is called as a 1-tier architecture. Is clear with any doubts or queries regarding this? Okay, so 1-tier architecture. Now what you have, second is your 2-tier architecture. What is the 2-tier architecture? Here, your database and application, both this resides on the same hardware or the same VM. Your presentation layer is different. Okay, so you might be having one server, one physical server, one virtual machine in which you will install both the database software and the application software. But you will not install the presentation SAP GUI on that server. You will install the SAP GUI on a separate system, that is your PC or your landscape. You will install the SAP GUI on your PC or on your laptop. Okay, and you will access the application from your PC. That is called as a 2-tier architecture. Now, most of these 2 things have become outdated. Now, I don't think anyone no longer uses the 1-tier or 2-tier architecture. Now, the most common one is your 3-tier architecture. What happens over here? You have a separate database server, you have a separate application server, and then you have a separate presentation, or you can say system to access the application. So all of this resides on the 3 different layers. So in our case, what we have installed a 3-tier architecture. If you see the example over here, now this is my database system, H4P. This is my database system. It is a separate VM. This system H4P, the host name of this VM is HDB Dev1. This is a separate VM. Okay, this is a separate system. Then for the application server, I have a separate system. This is S4D Dev1. This is a separate system for the application. And this is a Bayesian host. On the Bayesian host, I have installed the SAP GUI software. On the Bayesian host, I have installed the presentation program, the SAP GUI software, and from the Bayesian host, I'm connecting to my application. So what we are using is a 3-tier architecture. So now latest there, it has also increased to 4-tier architecture also. So now you have from the database application, you have one layer in between the presentation and the application, that is the web servers. We also call it as a web layer. So in that web layer, all your web servers reside, all your HTTP servers reside. So the presentation server, now presentation earlier it was only with your SAP GUI. Now your web browser is also a kind of presentation layer. So you can use your web browser to connect to your system. So web browser will come into your presentation layer. Then there is an additional layer here that is called the web layer, where all your web servers will reside. The presentation server, they will connect through the web browser to your web server. The web servers will then connect to your application server. The application server will then connect to your database server. So this is the latest one, is a 4-tier architecture. Okay, is everyone clear with this? Yes, sir. Can we move forward?
Yeah, sure.
So this is the clients of architecture. So this is just for your understanding. It is not like any kind of like it's not important in your day-to-day technical activities or anything. It's just for your basic understanding. Now this is the important part over here. Okay, so this is what we are going to discuss over here. We are going to see a high level. We are going to see a high level overview of your application servers and instances. What is an application server and what is an instance? Okay, so now what happens over here? Now this the bottom one is your database layer. The bottom, the below the below layer is your database layer. Okay, this is your database layer. Inside your database layer, you have an host, or you have a system which hosts your database server, or your database server is installed on the host in your database layer. So this is your database layer. Then there is a top layer, that is a presentation layer. In the presentation layer, you have your end user devices. End user device means it can be their PC, it can be their desktop PC, it can be their laptop PC, it can be their mobile, it can be their tablets that they are using. Okay, so these are the different devices. So these are the end user devices. From the end user devices, they will be using different programs or application to access the application server. So what kind of interface or what kind of program they're using? They might be using a web browser. They might use a web browser to connect to your application server to get some data from your application server. They might be using a SAP business client. Okay, this is SAP business client is also something similar to the SAP GUI. The only difference is that it is a hybrid client. You can also add connections for your HTTP URLs also inside the business client. Okay, so this is a business. Then you have your SAP GUI, the same software which we are using. The SAP GUI software for Windows and Java. Windows means for the system which on the Windows platform, you will be installing the SAP GUI for Windows over there. In case if someone using, for example, they are using a Linux system or a Mac system. Okay, though for those systems you cannot install the SAP GUI for Windows on them. You will be using the SAP GUI for Java. SAP GUI for Java to be installed on the Mac system or on the Linux operating system. So the topmost layer is your presentation layer, the bottommost layer is your database layer. Now comes the middle layer. In the middle layer, it is your application layer. Your application resides in the middle layer. Now, what does it consist of? It consists of applications, servers, and instances. It consists of application servers and instances. Now, what is this? These are your application servers. This is my application server host A. This is my application server host B. And this is my application server host C. And these are the instances for my application. Okay, this is the instance, primary application server instance. This is the primary application server instance. This is the central services instance. Okay, which is ASCS. ASCS for your ABAP, Central Services for ABAP Server. That is the ASCS instance. Okay, then if you have an additional system, then you will have an additional application server on it. Different servers with additional application servers on them. So this is your middle layer of your application layer. Is it clear with you? Are your understanding of what things reside on which layer, and what is the difference between application server and application and instance, application server instance?
So server is like a host level thing, and instance is application.
Yes, you can tell as a server as a host level of thing. You can have multiple instances within one application server. Okay, you can have multiple instances in one application server, or you can have like within for the same system, it can be, you can have multiple application servers. For example, if you have a production system, in your production environment, you will be doing HA clustering for the ASCS instance. So for this, you will have two different instances which will have the ASCS instance installed of them or in a cluster. So two systems for ASCS instance. Then you will have another third instance for your primary application server. Then you might have your fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh application servers which will host the additional application server instances. Is that clear?
One thing you mentioned, we can have multiple instances in a single application server.
Yes.
That is not clear to me. I mean,
here,
at a single host, just a second, at a single host, we can install multiple application servers. But then in a single application server, how we can have multiple instances? That is not clear to me.
This is the example over here. If you see the example in our case, see, this is our application server. S4D is our application server. In our application server, if you check this output, see, there are two instances running in this application server. This is my ASCS instance, the top one, and the below one is my primary application server instance. Got it?
Yes. Okay. So in primary application server, we have a primary application instance and message server instance.
Can you come again? What?
Okay. So in our primary application server, we have two instances. That is primary application server instance and message server instance.
This is not a primary application server. This is my application server. Within the application server, I have one instance. This is my ASCS instance. This is my ASCS instance, and this is my primary application server instance.
Okay.
This is okay. That is it. And if I install another additional server, then it will host my additional application server instance. The difference we will see in the later slides.
Okay. Okay.
So this is just for understanding, like what is the presentation layer, what is the application layer, what is the database layer. So this is a database layer. This application server, they are in your application layer. This is my database system. This comes under my database layer. Okay, so database, this is the bottom layer. On top of the database, I'm running application, and on top of the application, I'm running my presentation. This is my presentation. Okay, now that was just a high level overview. Let us move forward to a little more low level overview of the AS ABAP architecture. Okay, this was just
Hi.
an yes.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Ram here.
Mhm.
So I have one doubt, like, so in one server, we can install multiple instances. So,
Yes.
for example, due to organization requirements, project requirements, I'm
Mhm.
installing couple of additional instances into that application server. So
Mhm.
does it consume any more space, or is there any complication, or is there any risk points kind of?
No, no, can you come again? What? Can you come again?
Uh, so in my, for example, I have installed one quality system. In that I am installing one more instance.
Okay.
For example, logon group, account and closing period. So for those kind of things, I am installing one special, one standalone instance for that specific purpose.
Okay.
So, for example, if I'm having 8 GB or 16 GB of RAM, and I'm installing an additional application instance, so does it consume any resources?
So it's an see. For first thing, let me tell you, you are installing that additional application server in your same system on the same hardware.
Yes.
So what is the use? What is the use of installing an additional application server? See, why do you install an additional application server?
For example, if there is any resource constraints or work
See,
process.
you install an additional application server for load distribution.
Yes. Yeah.
Load balancing. And if you are going to install this and install the same instance in the same hardware, then what is the use of load balancing? It is the same hardware, na? The same hardware or the same virtual machine. Then where is the load balancing? Because you are just trying to crowd the same VM or the same hardware in it. So instead of when do you install additional application server? When you are installing it on a separate server or separate hardware or separate VM.
Okay.
You install an additional application server on a separate hardware or a separate VM. So there are two basic functionalities or two basic you can say functions of an additional application server. One thing, load balancing. Second is fault tolerance. What is fault tolerance? Now, in fault tolerance mean, for example, you have one server which contains your ASCS instance and your primary application server. Okay, one host for this. In this example, if you see in this example, this is the example over here. In this example, in one host, I'm installing my primary application server and my ASCS instance. Okay, is this clear?
Okay.
Yes. On additional host, I'm installing an additional application server. Again, on an additional host, I'm installing an additional application server. So total, how many application servers instances I have?
4.
Just check it again. How many we have? See, yes, I have only 3. This is my primary application server, and this is an additional application server. So I have three application server instances. This is a different. This is not an application server instance. This is ASCS, Central Services for ABAP Services.
Okay.
So now what is the use of this? Now, for example, now this is my host A, host B, and host C. All the 3 are running properly. All the 3 are running without any issue. So what happens, for example, if I have, for example, 30 users connecting to my system. If 30 users are trying to connect to my system, so what it will do, the system will do, it will what it will do, it will put 10 users on this application server, 10 users on this application server, and 10 users on this application server. So what it is doing over here, it is doing load distribution, load balancing.
Okay.
You get this point?
Yes, I get it.
Now what happens? Now till now it is doing load distribution. Now, for example, this host B, it goes down. The host B goes down for any reason, hardware reason, network reason, or some kind of operating system reason, any planned downtime or unplanned downtime, this host B goes down.
Okay.
What will happen? See, this host is down. Now this application server, additional application server instance cannot be used. Now what the system will do? Now the system will redistribute the load among the working application server instances. So now what it will do? It will put on this server. It will put up 15 users, and on this server, it will put up. It will put 15 users on this server. It will put 15 users. So other than load balancing, it is also done what is called as a fault tolerance. In case if one of the application server goes down, this will keep working. Your system will keep working.
Okay. And could you please repeat that word again? Come again, please.
Which one?
Something you said, I didn't hear that properly. Network.
One is your, there are two basic functionalities. One is your load balancing, load distribution, and second is your fault tolerance.
Okay.
Fault tolerance or redundancy. In case of one of the application server instance goes down, that load will be distributed among the working application server instances.
Okay. Now we get it. Yes.
So this is here. So same thing happens over here also. In case if this application instance goes down, primary application instance, this instance also goes in, not the application server, only the instances. If this instance goes down, again what will happen? The host will be, this instance is down. This instance is down. This instance down. So all the load will be put on the third running application server, which is your host C. So here it will have all the 30 users connected on this system.
Okay.
Now, what happens if this instance goes down? What happens if this instance goes down?
Okay. I was about to ask that question. Yes.
Okay, so if you see over here, this is your central services instance. So it consists of your central services, the services which are common to all the application server instances. Okay, if this instance goes down, your SAP will come down. It will no longer function. Even if all these are running, even if all these instances are running, even if all these instances are running properly, this instance is up, this instance is up, this instance is up. But if your central services instance goes down, you won't be able to connect to your application server. So this is a critical instance.
Okay.
You have redundancy for the application server instance. You have redundancy for your primary application server, additional application. These are the redundancy. Okay, you have this three instances available over here. So if one of the instances from the application server goes down, the other will take over the load. But if the central services goes down, then your whole system comes down. So,
okay. So, for example, is it possible to install? Make it this central services instance in a separate host.
That will see that comes under HA. That comes under high availability clustering. Okay, so there what you will do, you will put this service, you will put this instance, ASCS instance in clustering in high availability.
Okay.
So in that case, even if the whole host goes down, the whole hardware, the whole VM goes down, there will be a standby VM ready to take over the service, to start the services of this instance on the standby host.
Okay. The same kind of setup or procedure can be done in ECC also, right?
Yes. This architecture is common for everything. The architecture is common for ECC also. See, we are talking about ASAP. I am not talking about ECC and S4HANA. We are talking about ASAP, and ASAP is common for your ECC also and for your S4HANA also.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I was a little bit confused about this, and now we get the very clear picture about this.
So this was your application servers and instances. Now let us move forward to your AS ABAP architecture. Now see, we have seen, see what in the previous screen, you have just we have just seen this box over here, primary application server. Now, what is inside this box? What is inside the primary application server and what is inside the additional application server? So this screen, in this screen, we didn't see, we didn't saw what is inside this box. In the next screen, in the next screen, we are seeing what is there inside this box. So here it is. This is your this is the box which was there in the previous screen. This is your primary application server. If you see this is your primary application server. This is your CS or your ASCS instance. So this is my primary application server instance, and this is my additional application server instance. Sorry, this is my primary application server instance, and this is my ASCS instance, additional application. This is my ASCS instance. So in the previous screen, this was your primary application of PaaS instance, and this was your CS or ASCS instance. In the second screen, we are seeing, we are opening the box and seeing what is inside it. Okay, is that clear? So again, here we have the bottommost layer, which consists of your database layer. This is my database layer. This is the hardware for my the system for my database, and this is the database which contains my ABAP database, AS ABAP database. Okay, this is a host D. This is a separate host for it. This is a separate host on my data on which my database has been hosted. The middle layer is your application layer. This application layer contains different hosts which contains different instances. This is my primary application server instance. This is my additional application server instance, and so on. Host C will also have an additional application server instance. Host D also will have an additional application server instance. And this layer, this is my presentation layer, the user layer, from where the users are connecting to my application server. So in the previous screen, what we saw that there are three types or three interfaces by which the user, three different application by which the user can connect to the application. What are they? First is your common web browser. You can connect to the application using a web browser. Then you can connect using the SAP Business Client. And in the last one, you can connect using your SAP GUI. So what is the difference between these browsers? When you're connecting from a web browser, you can only use the HTTP protocol. When you are using the web browser, you can only access the system using the HTTP protocol. But when you're using SAP GUI, you can only access the system using the dialog protocol. The dialog protocol here is the HTTP protocol. But when you're using web client, you can use you can use the HTTPS also, you can use the dialog also from the same SAP Business Client. That is means you can create a connection for SAP accessing SAP your GUI also, and you can make a connection for accessing your URL also, browser URL also. So there it is. So this is here. And what are all these connections targeted to? Web browser will connect to your ICM, Internet Connection Manager. Web browser will only connect to your ICM. SAP GUI, the dialog, these connections will only connect to your ABAP dispatcher. This will directly connect to your ABAP dispatcher, and web browser will connect to your ICM, Internet Connection Manager. From a business client, the connection for HTTP, it will connect to the ICM. The connection for dialog, it will connect the connection for dialog. It will connect to the ABAP dispatcher. Is this point clear with all of you?
Yes, Mustafa. And I have one doubt. Like, for example, in work process, so we have multiplexing, right? When we are dealing with dialog work process, there is a concept of work process multiplexing. So similar to that, in a real-time scenario, in an organization. For example, let's say we have configured 4 background work process, and we have configured the operation modes nighttime. So by nighttime, the background work process get increased by, let's say, 4 get increased by 8.
No, it
So
will not
now,
increase. That is your
okay,
misconception. You cannot increase any work process in a running system.
okay.
Okay. What is the use of this? Sorry, I forgot the term to say this. What term did you use for this?
Work process multiplexing.
No, not multiplexing. After that, for the background work process,
Operation modes. For example,
operation
in
modes. So
daytime,
what are operation modes? See, operation modes means, see what happens. You have two types of work process: the dialog work process and the background work process. Okay, so dialog work process caters to your dialog communication or your interactive users, the users which are connecting from your SAP GUI. Background work process, they execute the jobs which have been executed in the background or which have been configured to be executed in the background. Okay, so normally
okay,
what happens, these consultants, the end users, what they do, they don't schedule their background job during the daytime. Okay, all the critical background work process or background jobs which consume more load, okay, which are more resource hungry, okay, which consumes more load. What they do, they schedule all of these work process background jobs in the evening time or in the night time.
okay,
Okay, this is for understanding what is a background job. So normally what happens during the day, you might have at a time, you might have only 4 or 5 background work process running in the, maybe 3 or 4 work process in the simultaneously running in the system. But in the night time, okay, so for example, during the daytime, for example, 4 background jobs are triggered every hour. On an average, 4 background jobs are triggered every hour, and in your system you have 4 background work process. Now you have 4 background work process and you have like 4 background jobs triggering every hour, so it is enough to cater to that load. Now in the night time you have like 10 number of background work jobs triggering every hour,
okay,
and you have only 4 background work process. So there are only 4 background work process, and every hour you are getting 10 background job triggered. So every hour, what happens? This 4 work process, they will take up the 4 work process. 6 background jobs will go into queue.
okay,
So by that time, the running the available background work process, the 4 work process, by the time they execute their background process running, when they become free, then only the background job from the queue will be assigned to the free background work process. So you can see during the night time there will be a higher load on the system. Not
yes,
load on the system, but load on the background work process. Okay, so this is
okay.
one thing. Second thing, see what is your dialog work process. Dialog work process is used by which kind of users? Who
So,
will
for
use it?
example, presentation, it deals
They
like
will use by
display some output.
the user who will use the SAP GUI to log into the system and execute their work. Okay.
Yes,
So for if you can you say that it will be used by humans? Okay,
yes, yeah,
and so they work during the daytime. So at the night time, the humans, what they will do, they will just they will leave their work and they will go back to their home. So during the night time, there will be less load on your dialog work process.
yes, exactly.
Okay. So for example, you have 20 dialog work process and 5 background work process. So during the
Okay,
daytime, the dialog work process will be fully loaded. Why? Because there are too many people working on the office. Everyone is working from the office, from their warehouse, from their workshop, and so everywhere. On the field also, they are connecting to the system for getting data, saving some data, getting data. So these 20 background dialog work process are fully overloaded in the daytime. But after in the evening, after in the night time, what happens? These dialog work process, they become free,
okay,
and the background work process, they become overloaded.
Yes, yes. Actually, yeah, I
Ah,
get that. I
so
mean,
what
my
happens in
query
the
is
what? Yes, tell me. Sorry.
yes. For example, let's say we have 10 work process, which is
Uh,
dialog work process,
okay.
and in daytime, so one
Mm,
user trying to display an output is using
okay.
the display work
Mm,
process.
mhm,
And for example, at the time, so it will execute that particular task handler,
mhm,
and it will go to waiting status, and consequently, it will look into for another job, another task.
mhm,
So it will serve the request which is already in the queue. For
mhm,
example, in night time, uh, for example, four background work processors are scheduled. I mean, four
mhm,
work processors are configured. For
mhm,
example, at the same time, 10 jobs are running, 10 background jobs are running. So
mhm,
only we have four background work process.
mhm.
So how system will handle this kind of situation?
So that is the reason what I'm trying to explain is that that is where operation modes come into picture. So for example, during the daytime, you have you have 10 dialog work process and 5 background work process. So during the daytime, there is less load on the background work process, but higher load on the dialog work process.
Okay.
Okay, and in the night time, there is more load on the background work process, but less load on the dialog work process. Is this point clear?
Yes, this is clear.
So what happens? What you will do? You will configure an operation mode. Operation mode where what you will do? You will schedule a operation whereby during the night time your excessive or surplus dialog work process will convert to background work process.
Okay.
Your dialog work, for example, during the daytime, you have 10 dialog work process, 5 background work process. Sorry, 10 dialog work process and 5 background work process. So what happens when you configure this? You set up a time. You will set up a this called as a window. For example, after 8 p.m. from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. So this from the at 8 p.m. what happens? Your 5 background dialog work process will convert to background work process. So
Okay.
after 8
Okay.
p.m., you have 5 dialog work process and 10 background work process.
Now I get it.
Okay, this is
Yes, yes.
operation mode. And at 8 a.m., again at 8 a.m., that 5 dialog work process which converted to background work process will again revert back to dialog work process.
Okay. Okay.
So
I get it.
this is
I get
what
it.
you have is your operation mode. Multiplexing is something very different.
Okay. Okay. I get it. I get it. Thank you.
So this is that is how this is the load away. So here what I was explaining, is it clear to you? So these are the different kind of end user devices, the different kind of traffics which are coming to your application server. So two types of traffic. One is your HTTP traffic and the other is your dialog traffic. The dialog traffic is directly addressed to your ABAP dispatcher.
Okay.
The GUI is through your dialog this traffic. So dialog traffic also directly comes to your ABAP dispatcher. Now when you use a browser, a simple example is your Fiori apps. So we open your web browser, you open your Fiori apps. What does the Fiori apps do? The Fiori apps also do the same thing which is done from your SAP GUI, but the only thing, the user layout, the screen layout, the user interface is different. Okay, you can create a sales order from your Fiori app also, from a sales order app also. You can also create the sales order from SAP UI from a T code. Is this point
Okay.
clear to you?
Yes. Yes. This is
Okay,
clear.
you can create a sales order from your sales order app in your Fiori app, application, which you are accessing from the browser. You can also create the sales order from your SAP UI from the T code. Now, but what happens when you're using the SAP GUI? It will use the dialog protocol. It will directly connect to your web dispatcher for creating the sales order. But when you're using a Fiori app, the Fiori app, the traffic will come from HTTPS. They will come to the ICM, Internet Connection Manager. The Internet Connection Manager will what it will do? It will unwrap the HTML taggings from the packets which are coming from your Fiori browser. It will, and from there it will take out the program for this. It will then pass that information to the ABAP dispatcher. ABAP dispatcher will execute that information. It will execute. It will get the output. It will provide the output back to the ICM. The ICM will again wrap it in HTML tags and send it back to the Fiori.
Okay. Okay.
So your ICM actually is an intermediary between your ABAP dispatcher and your web browser. Your ABAP dispatcher does not talk the language of HTTP. ABAP dispatcher only understands its native language, which is dialogue. It can only understand dialogue. So now there is some traffic which is coming from the web browser through HTTPS. So how will it connect with the web browser? Have something in between, which is your you can call it as a translator or interpreter in between the ICM, which takes all the traffic packets from the web browser, unwraps the packet, takes out the commands or the instruction from within pass it on to the web browser. The web browser will process that information and return it back to the ICM. ICM will again wrap it into HTML tags and send it back to the requesting browser.
Okay.
Okay, is that clear to everyone? So this is your primary application server. Within your primary application server, you have different processes. So which are the important processes? The first one which you have is your ABAP dispatcher. This is ABAP dispatcher process. Then inside this, you have your dialog work process. This D is for the dialog work process. U is for the update work process. B is for the background work process. S is for the spool work process. So within this dispatcher, you have different work processes. Work processes means they cater to different types of requests. Okay, they cater to different types of requests. If it's a spool request, it will be handled by the spool work process. If it's a dialog request, it will be handled by the dialog work process. So these are the different types of work process which are handled by the different work processes. And then inside this, you also have the ICM, Internet Connection Manager, and you also have your RFC gateway. So these are the different processes. These are the different important processes of your primary application server. Again, you have your ASCS instance. In your ASCS instance, you have your MS, message server, and then you have your ES, NQ server. Message server and NQ server. These are optional part. These are optional parts, so you can ignore it for the time being. So in your ASCS instance, these are the only two important critical process, which is the message server and the NQ server. Now coming back to the screen over here, if you see here, okay, if you see in this screen, if you see the first instances, it's the first instance over here. This is the first instance, okay? And if you see the processes which are running this instance, so what is this? This is my message server. Okay, if you can see in the description, you can see in the description, this is your message server. If you see for the second process, it is your NQ server. Okay, this is my NQ server. The first one is my message server, second is the NQ server. So if you see, if you compare it with this screen over here, if you compare it with this screen, so you can see these two processes over here. Okay, you can see this message server and this is your NQ server. So these are the two processes which is over here. These are the two processes. Okay, these are the two processes. These are the two processes. So this instance is my ASCS instance. This, the top instance, the top one is my ASCS instance. Why? Because it contains the message server and the NQ server. So this is how you can identify which is your instance. Now, coming to the next, the below instance over here. If you see for the different services, can you see for this plus work? What is the what is the description? It is the dispatcher work. This is the dispatcher process. Dispatcher. Then you have the IGSWD, Internet Graphics Server Watchdog. Then you have GWRD, which is your gateway. Then you have ICMan, which is your ICM. If you compare these processes in your second instances with this primary application server, so what you can see here is your dispatcher. See, here is your dispatcher work process. Here is the dispatcher process, not work process. This is the dispatcher process. Dispatcher, if you compare it on this screen, this is your dispatcher work process. Dispatcher. Coming second, again, this one, if you see here, this is my RFC gateway. This is my gateway process. If you compare it on this screen, this is your gateway process. If you again go back here, if you see for this one, the ICMan, if you see the ICMan, then if you come to this screen, you can see the ICMan over here. This is your ICMan process. This is an additional part which is not there in the screen. So this is just, you can just ignore it for the time being. So you can see these are the processes of your primary application server instance. These are the process of your primary application. These are not visible in that output. These work processes are not visible in that output because here you can only see up till your dispatcher. You cannot see beyond the dispatcher. If you want to see beyond the dispatcher, then there are two methods of checking it. One, which I showed you, was your dpmon command. You can use the dpmon command. That is your dispatcher command. See, this is your dpmon command, dispatcher monitor, dpmon dispatcher monitor. You run this command from here, and if you run M and L from here, you can see all the work processes. These are the dialog work processes. So if you want to see, you can see the work processes from the dpmon command, or if you run this one. If you run the if you run this command, the ps-el command, which we saw for the processes running by the SID ADM user. If you run this command, see here, you can see all this one. These are the sub process for your dispatcher and work process. Can you see these are here? It is not showing you which process is for which thing, but you can see these are all your work processes. So out of these work processes, 10 of them will be your dialog work processes, 4 of them will be your background work processes, 1 will be the update, 1 will be the spool, and so on. So these are the work processes which you can see from here. You can see the work process from your ps-ef command. I think also from the top, I think you might see some work process if they come up at the time of execution. Right now, it is not. So is this a clear part with you? Like what is a primary application server? What is an ASCS instance? Yes, everyone.
Yeah, it's
okay, so yeah, this is the how you can differentiate or distinguish between a primary application server and a central server. Now, can someone tell me what is the difference between this primary application server, the difference between a primary application server and an additional application server? What is the difference? Yes, anyone?
Okay, Muzaffar.
Yes, yes, Guy.
Okay, let me try to explain.
Yes.
PAS. Okay, for me, AAS would permit us to make a replication. In case of PAS is down, we will use this server as
Okay, it's a good try, Geek. I appreciate it. So what you are explaining is that additional application is used for load balancing or for HA, high availability. Load balancing means if all the application servers, additional applications running, it will divide the load. If one of the application server goes down, then it will distribute the load to other application server. You are trying to say that?
Yes.
Okay, no, but okay, but here my question. See, now my question is that in the same screen, what difference do you see between this primary application server? What difference do you see for this primary application server and for this additional application server? What difference do you see in both these box? My question is that this box over here, this box, the primary application server, this box and this box, what is the difference between these two?
Yes, Mustafa. I think for additional application server, we don't have this central services.
Man, you see again, Ram, see, can you see the highlighted box that I have created over here?
Okay.
So this for the primary application server, I have not included this box over here.
Okay. So
what is the difference between the primary application server and the additional application server?
okay.
Okay, so let me answer this question for you. It's very simple. See, there is no difference. Can you see any difference between the primary application server and the additional application server? Here is your RFC gateway. See here, this is your RFC gateway process. You have the RFC gateway process in additional application server. You have the ICM process. You have the ICM process in your additional application server. You have the ABAP dispatcher. You have the ABAP dispatcher in your additional application server. These are the work processes. You have the work process in your additional application server. Any difference can you see over here?
No,
No, there is no difference. If there is now my question is, if there is no difference, then why is this called a primary application server and this is called as the additional application server?
Because primary application server when we comes up when we are installing the SAP system. So additional application server, if we need an additional application server, we can install it on our preferences and the requirements.
See, okay, what you are saying is that in the like terms of installation and order. But see, the reason here, if you see, this system is called as a primary application server because it is residing along with your central services.
Okay.
It is residing on the same host. This application server is residing on the same host where your central services instance is running. So that is why it is called as the primary application server, because it is running next to your ASCS instance on the same host as your ASCS instance. This, if you see for this one, this application server is running on an additional or a separate host. This is not running on the same host where your ASCS instance is running. That is why it is called as an additional application server. Is this my point clear?
Yes, Mustafa. So can additional application server also run on can it run on the same host on the host A?
One minute. Can you come again? What you said?
So in host A we have primary application server. So can we have additional application server in host A?
Host A.
Yes.
You are asking host A, na?
Yeah.
Okay, so now see, my question is that why do you want to install the additional application server on host A itself? See, if you compare this to this instance is the same as your this instance. So what is the use of installing an additional application server on this host A in addition to your primary application server and ASCS instance? What is the use? Why do you want to put that ASCS also in the same host? Does it make any sense?
Okay, so for load distribution and all, we use separate host for
you have to do it on a separate server. It's a separate VM or a separate hardware. That only it will be meaningful. No? That only it will be meaningful.
Okay. Now I get it.
Okay, so that is it. So the reason is this is called the primary application server is that because it is residing along with your central services instance, ASK system. That is the only point which I wanted to push it over here. So now let me just refresh what we have done recently. Okay, so we are able to understand what is an application server, what are the application server instances. Sorry, what are the application server and what are the instances? How many types of instances we have in the ABAP? How many types of instances we have in ABAP application server? This is the point we cover. What are the processes inside an application servers? How many types of application server we have? Can anyone tell me? How many type of application server, how many type of instances we have? Yes, sorry. Yes, anybody?
Central instance and dialog instance.
See, it is there in front of you. See, these are the three types.
Primary application, central, and
yes, primary
additional.
application server, central server, and additional application server. These are the three types of applications. These are the three types of instances we have. Okay, so we have seen how many types of instances we have and what are the processes inside an instances. So here you have a gateway, RFC gateway, ICM, a web dispatcher, dialog work process, dialog, update, background. So these are the different work processes. Now, what is the function and use of this work processes? That will come later. But now we are able to identify the work process. For this instance, these are the work processes. But for this instance, these are the processes. Okay, as I showed you on this screen. Yeah, just a moment. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Okay, so I showed you over here. So these are the work processes which are running over. These are the instances. Okay, these are the two instances over here. This is the ASCS instance and this is the primary application server instance. When we will install the additional application server, okay, I'll show you the additional application server instance. So right now we only have these two types of instance installed in our setup right now. So this is your ASCS instance. So how will you identify this is the ASCS instance? By looking at the processes it is running. So this is a message server, encrypt server. So this is the ASCS instance. Here you have the dispatcher, gateway, and ICN. So this is your primary application server instance. Is it clear?
Yes.
So I think it is enough for today. I think it's already 3 years and kind of drag with all this theoretical. It will go above your head. So let us will continue in tomorrow's session. Yes, is it okay with everyone?
Yes, Mr.
That's fine.
Okay. So, yeah. So any doubts and queries for you about today's class or anything? Okay, so no problem. If you have any doubts and queries, you can put it in the group. We will address it there. So thank you everyone for attending the class session. Okay, see you in tomorrow's class. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.